Good afternoon. Welcome to the weekly livestock market update. Oh, it is a Friday and it is the Friday before Christmas. I'm Brownfield anchor reporter Megan Grebner with us this afternoon, as always, to talk all things markets. University of Missouri, Scott Brown. Good afternoon, Scott.
Good afternoon, Megan.
You would think after 4 years, I would understand how technology works. Apparently today is not my day.
I noticed it was a little rocky start today.
It is a Friday, and it's a Friday before Christmas. That's all I'm going to say. Anyway, and it's not even the last Friday before Christmas. We still have one more, don't we?
That's right.
And next week is going to be a beast for us because we have a full slate of reports. This week, not so much. We're going to talk a little retail prices. We're going to talk some consumer demand, a little bit of inflation conversation. But to kick things off, let's recap what happened this week in the markets.
Yeah, on the cattle side this week, Megan, live cash cattle were down about $2.50 on the week. Those feeder cattle markets were anywhere from steady to $4 lower on the week. On the futures side, the February live cattle futures contract closed down $1.80, and the January feeder cattle futures contract was down $4.75. We also saw lower beef prices this week. The choice box beef price lost $4.60, and we really saw weakness across the board in those components of the box beef. On the pork side of the equation, cash barrel and gilt prices were basically unchanged this week, as was the February lean hog futures contract. The pork cutout value gained nearly $2.90 this week. Stronger hams led the way for us on the pork side.
It's really been interesting watching box beef. A year ago when we were having these conversations, we had started to see box beef prices come down. They continued to drop back over the last year, but they're still showing some pretty impressive margins there as well.
Yeah, Megan, if we looked at where we were a year ago, a little more than $2 a pound last year, we're setting still this week at a little over $2.60 a pound. So we're well above year-ago levels, even though we have been coming down as we look at the last few weeks of that choice box beef price.
All right, Scott, let's talk weekly slaughter numbers. As we take a look at this week's numbers, I'm actually a little surprised to see where cattle and hog slaughter numbers are.
Yeah, so if we look at the cattle slaughter this week, USDA is estimating a run of 657,000 head, down 11,000 from where we were a week ago. So a little smaller run on the cattle side. That does put it a couple thousand head above where we were a year ago at this time. On the hog side, a bigger run this week, 2.645 million head according to USDA. That's 75,000 head above a week ago, yet still trails year-ago levels by 155,000 head.
Are we on the hog side, at least, do you anticipate us continuing to just move up a little bit as they're trying to maybe give folks a little bit more of an extended break for the holiday next week and the week after?
Yeah, so I expect that big run we have this week is a little bit folks trying to get ahead, knowing we'll be short for the next couple of weeks in terms of slaughter run. So I think that's building a little bit of inventory to handle what will be some shorter weeks coming.
All right, let's talk retail prices. As we take a look at those numbers, we are really starting to see some increases on the retail side of things.
Yep, higher prices continue to be the discussion. And when we look at meat retail prices in particular, they continue to be on the high side. If we look at the choice beef retail price for November, it was $7.85. That's nearly 24% above where we were a year ago. And if you look at the 2015 to 2019 average, it's 32% above that 15 to 19 average. On the pork side, similar story, $4.82 a pound for the November pork retail price. That is a record level. We were at $4.82 in October as well. That's 18% above where we were in 2020 and 28% above where we were over the 2015 to 2019 period. So some fairly high prices overall in those retail prices. You look at some of the components, the ones that stand out to me is bacon price that's more than 26% above where we were a year ago, and a steak price that's nearly 27% above where we were a year ago.
When we talk about these higher retail prices, are we starting to see consumers scale back their purchases, or is that still staying strong as we see these prices go up and maybe not seeing the same type of increase in a cost of living or an income standpoint? Especially, I think about with this being the last month of the extra childcare payments and the administration talking about rolling back COVID relief.
Yeah, we really haven't yet seen much of an impact. I will always remind us of the old extension adage: the cure for high prices is high prices. And from a demand standpoint, eventually high prices begin to lower consumption. Not necessarily change demand, but certainly make us try to consume less at those higher prices. Yeah, we haven't really seen too much of that. I will say partly because we're getting an increase in, all of the prices of meat. So it's not like if I like beef, I can go substitute cheaper chicken into my bundle, because chicken prices are also very high. So it's a little tough to substitute away, and I think consumers continue to spend. We'll wait and see whether at some point that has some effect, though.
Consumer sentiment is our final point today. As we take a look at that, really nice to see some increases.
Yeah, that's right. So we got the December preliminary estimates out last week, and the overall index of consumer sentiment up 4.5% in December relative to November. That's some good news. And if you look, we had both. All right, so two components make up that overall index. Current economic conditions portion was 1.4% above month over month, while the index of expectations is 6.8% above a month ago. So consumers beginning to feel more comfortable about future economic conditions, I think, driving that expectations component of the index. That continues to follow through. Maybe we see some continued growth in that consumer sentiment index as we look ahead into 2022. Now, let's keep this in perspective for a minute. That December index is still almost 13% below where we were a year ago at this time. So yes, some growth month over month, but we are lagging where we were sitting a year ago at this time.
And we're seeing another surge in COVID cases, and with this other variant coming in, I saw several NCAA basketball tournament games postponed, delayed, not tournament, sorry, NCAA basketball games, college basketball games, because of outbreaks and so on and so forth. So I think it's interesting to know that we are still maybe having to be reminded that we're still in a pandemic and we're not in the clear yet, and we're still not back to normal.
Yeah, that's right. And I sometimes say, so it depends on where you are in the country in terms of kind of where that economic recovery is. Some parts of the country, I'll say, for a while at least, have maybe more back to normal, if you will. Yet you can look at other parts of the country who still have a lot of folks who are working from home, haven't come back to the office. You can look at it two ways. I'll take the positive side for a minute and say, when those folks that are working from home hopefully transition at some point back to in office, that could increase demand for meat products, especially that lunch opportunity that right now probably isn't happening as they consume lunch from home.
All right, next week, it's a big one. For us, it'll be a very busy Thursday afternoon, and you and I will actually talk on Friday, even though markets will be closed.
That's right. So we get some Christmas presents, and we'll figure out whether it's something good or cold that's under the tree, with cold storage, hogs and pigs, cattle on feed, and livestock slaughter on tap all next week.
We will definitely find out who is on the naughty and nice list.
Let's hope we end the year with some good news here on the supply side.
I will definitely take some good news and pass on those lumps of coal.
I'm with you, Megan.
Scott, always great to see you. We will see you next Friday.
That sounds great.
To have our weekly livestock market update delivered to your email box every Saturday morning, go to brownfieldagnews.com. You can also submit questions and comments there. And if you're looking for some great podcast listening materials while you're on the road this holiday season, go to brownfieldagnews.com/podcast. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you next Friday. I'm Megan Grabner for Brownfield.